Hey, what's going on, guys? How's everybody doing? So today I want to do something a little bit different, and we're going to be playing one of my favorite games over the past couple of weeks, the past couple of months, and that is Monster Train. Some of you guys are going to recognize this game as we have played it a couple times on stream already, but for those of you guys who are new to the world of Monster Train is a roguelike deck building card game with the goal of adding cards to our deck to constantly improve our arsenal. On this railway will be stops where we can pick up new units or spells to improve our deck or upgrade those same cards. During each round, the goal is to defeat the boss and protect our pyre. If the pyre drops to 0 health, we lose. If the boss dies, we win. You can place units on any of the 3 floors you would like. Enemy invaders will spawn on the bottom floor at the beginning of every round and push the existing invaders up a floor until they eventually get to your pyre unless killed. It's our job to create an ensemble of units to punish these invaders and let us continue on our railway to hell. I'll be going into a bit more detail of the mechanics and such once we actually get into the video, but for now, for the first couple levels, that should be more than enough for you guys to get a grasp of what we're actually trying to achieve. It's a really fun game. You're able to build some really crazy combos and do all kinds of shenanigans. It's a really fun game to watch and a really easy game to watch. So hopefully you guys enjoy Monster Train. So we're going to do a standard run here. There is DLC called The Last Divinity. We're not going to be doing any of that. We're just going to do base game run. Now, important to note, this game is available for PC and Xbox One. So if you do play on console, unfortunately, it's not available on PlayStation, but you can play it over on your Xbox. So we're going to go ahead and start a run. Now, when you go to start a run, you have to choose your clans. There are 5. There is 6 if you get the DLC, but we're not going to be playing with that. So when you actually start, you're only going to have 2 clans unlocked, and those are the 2 that we are going to be starting with. We have the Hellhorned, which are like demons, devils, and they do a lot of pumping of themselves in terms of their power. And then we have the Awoken. These are kind of like your plant Cthulhian creatures. They like to pump toughness. They're very like big and bulky creatures. I actually like playing these guys as my main clan. So basically the way that this game plays out is you have a primary clan and an allied clan. Your primary clan is you're going to get a specific champion. So like we could get this Hornbreaker Prince here as our champion, or if we play with the Awoken, we could get the Sentient. And basically your champion is always going to start in your opening hand. This is a card game, so you're going to have a deck of cards. You draw 5 cards every turn, and then once your hand, is discarded, or your whole deck is discarded, I should say, you're going to recycle your deck. But your champion is always going to be in your opener, so you kind of want to build around your champion. And then there is the secondary champion, but you don't unlock that until later, so we are going to go with the first. So we're going to go with the Sentient, and then for our second clan, we are going to go with the Hellhorned, and we're going to go with torches here. We're going to turn all our covenants off. And the reason for that is we are simulating a first-time game here. Covenants are basically either buffs or debuffs to your entire run, similar to like you would have in other roguelikes. And you get these after completing runs, and they just kind of increase challenge as well as allow you to unlock more things. But for right now, we're just going to run without those. Without further ado, we are just going to go on a departure. Now, of course, I will have other cards unlocked that I can unlock through the run, because I've upgraded these 2 classes to max, so there will be some cards that you don't have access to your first run if you decide to give this a shot. We get a little preview here of all the bosses we're going to be fighting, and we start the run. So basically, before we even start, there are going to be like these little areas that you can gain upgrades for your deck, or you can get things like artifacts, which we'll go over in a second. But basically, as you go through, you're going to have different routes you can go down. You can only choose one, can't choose both. And each side is going to have different upgrades you can do. So like in this case, we can either, upgrade our units, or if we go this way, we can upgrade our spells. We can also choose to get a Hellhorn unit or an Awoken unit. So we'll kind of see these things as we go further along. So the first thing we can do is upgrade our champion. Now, this is one of the great things about a digital card game is when you play a physical card game, right? I came from Magic the Gathering. There are certain things you can't do with a physical card game. You can't alter the cards themselves. But with a digital card game, the computer can track everything for you, so you can go about and change things to the actual cards. So here with our champion, we can either increase our champion's health to 30 and give it spikes 10, and spikes is basically whenever it is dealt damage, it'll do 1 damage per stack of spikes back. So every time this is hit, it's going to deal 10 damage to the enemy. Or we can do revenge, which is triggers when it's damaged. Cultivate 1, which is going to, on the right side here, increase the attack and health, which, you know, the sword and health is signified right here. We have a 0 and 40 of the friendly unit with the lowest health by the cultivate value. So basically, every time it's hit, it's going to increase a unit's attack and health by 1 as long as it has the lowest health value. But we can also draw 1 each turn. Now, it's kind of interesting. I haven't actually tried this build, but I think I'm going to go with the spikes build and just build this, kind of build like a spikes deck. Sometimes the decks take a little bit of foresight, but if you can also look at what cards your deck has to see what kind of deck would work. Right now, our deck is incredibly basic. We just have a bunch of basic cards that were given from our primary and secondary clan. The restores are all from our primary clan, the torches from our secondary clan, and the train stewards you will always start with. We can get rid of those later on because they're not that good. They're just kind of filler cards. Then we can go ahead and choose our artifacts, and artifacts are basically bonuses that we're going to get through the entire run. So these are pretty important and can help us shape our deck. So at the start of turn, the front friendly unit on each floor gains +5. You'll see what that means a little bit later. Or apply daze to enemy units when they enter the room, the floor below the pyre room. Now, this one is pretty good. And all these terms we'll go over when we do our first run. But I'm actually going to go with the emblem of the exiles because this synergizes with what we were trying to do in increasing our sentience health as much as possible, so that way it can tank as much damage. So we're going to go with this. And now we're going to go into our first battle, and you're going to be able to see how combat actually works. Now, for some floors, you will have a little bit of a trial here, and basically all this is an added difficulty to get a little bit extra of a reward. So at the start of battle, enemy units appear on each floor. This one might be a little tough for us to get done, but I'm actually going to go through and do it. You'll see why in a second. So we're going to gain this extra gold, and gold can be used to buy extra upgrades to your cards in the future. So we're going to take that because gold is a very nice resource to have. So this just shows us our debuff. And one thing to keep ear out for is that the music in this game, fan-freaking-tastic. Okay, so basic UI. Here's the thing. We got our 3 Ember. This is basically our mana or our currency, and this is how much we can spend per turn. Every card is going to have Ember on it, so all these cards cost 1. Once we hit 0, we can't cast any more unless they cost 0. Like our champion, all our champions cost 0. We have our +3 down here, which is the amount of Ember you'll gain next turn. There are ways to increase the amount of Embers you get next turn, as well as our draw pile or our deck. This is how many cards we have left and how many cards we will draw next turn. On the right side, we have our discard pile. These are the cards that we discard. Once our deck is empty, we then shuffle up our discard pile, and it becomes our new deck. There is a little space over here that is not shown right now, but that's basically our consume pile or exile pile if you're coming from Magic, or I think it's banished if coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, it's cards that are no longer in the game. They can't be put in your discard pile, and you can't redraw them. So basically the way combat works is there are 4 floors, technically 3, but this 4th floor has our last shard of the pyre. If this dies, we lose the run. So it has 80 health and it can do 20 damage. The way combat works is there are 3 floors, 1, 2, 3. After every round, enemies are going to go from the floor they're on up a floor. So these enemies, if they survive the round, they'll go to this floor. These enemies will go up around to this floor, and then finally these enemies will go up to this floor. So how do we defeat enemies? Basically, the way combat works is after we go ahead and play all our cards and hit end turn, the enemy is going to have their turn first. So the first enemy is going to attack our first unit. Our second enemy will attack our first unit, and the third enemy will attack the first unit. Unless the first unit dies, then they'll attack the second, and so on. Then it becomes our turn. Our first unit will attack their first unit, our second, their first, and so on unless we kill things. If the enemy survives, they move up a floor. So the reason that I'm okay with starting all these enemies off on the floors is because I knew from looking at the team preview that a lot of these enemies have 1 health and they are going to die to our sentient. Because remember, anything that hits it, since we have spikes 10, it's going to deal 10 damage. So you can actually see what's going to be the result of combat. So you can see that our sentient is only going to be taking 10 damage, while this unit is going to die, this unit is going to die, this unit is going to die. Sometimes this is a great feature. And I'm actually going to just kill off a couple. I'm going to kill this unit off here. These torches are simply 2 damage. You just click and drag to whatever target you want. And I'm also, because I have 1, I'm going to... I can't actually restore the health, but regen 1 will make it so that at the end of the turn, my sentient here gains 1 health. So if we can get that regen going, it could be 10 health a turn, 15 health a turn. Right now, we'll just leave it at 1, and you can see that reflected right there. It went from -10 to -1. So we'll go ahead and end the turn and see how combat works. There we go. So these guys have nothing to fight, so they're going to come up a floor. Same thing with the first floor. And now, the enemies are going to come in. Enemies always enter on the bottom floor. Now, when does the round end? You can see right up here in the top left, waves remaining 2. So that means 2 more waves of enemies are going to come in on the bottom floor. After that, the boss is going to come in. And there's a different mechanic there with the boss that we'll go over once we get there. Okay, interesting to note, this collector does show up every once in a while. He only stays on the floor once. After this round, he's going to go away. That being said, if you do kill him, you get a nice little bonus. So what we can do, now we place this 1 unit here. Right up here is our capacity per floor. So the sentient, you can see right there, has 2 yellow circles. That means it's going to take up 2 capacity, which we can see reflected right here. So that means we have 3 more. So I can take one of these train stewards, and I could put it in front of the sentinel, or the sentient, if I wanted to. Or I could put it in back. I'm going to put it in back because what I want to happen, you got to think ahead to combat a little bit. I want this first unit to attack, second unit to attack, third unit to attack. That's going to mean that they all die. If I put the train steward here first, these 3 are going to attack the train steward and kill it, and these are all going to survive. The reason being is that the sentient can't actually kill the collector, so I want the train steward back here. So that way, after all 3 of these die to the sentient, the train steward during combat will then kill the collector, and I'll get a little bit of extra gold. And I'm going to put these 2 train stewards down here just to do a little bit of damage to this Forged Disciple. I have no more Ember, so I can't play either of these cards, so we're going to go ahead and end the turn. And now the train steward attacks there. We get our extra 50 gold. Nothing happens on the second floor. On the first floor, I should say. There's a little combat there. We deal 10 damage. This unit. Normally, what's going to happen is the wave before a boss comes, you're going to get a turn to kind of figure things out, make sure everything's fine-tuned the way you want it. We don't really have much that we can do. I am just going to put a train steward down here. We'll go ahead and torch this unit just so that this train steward takes a little bit less damage. We'll go ahead and restore 2 health here and apply regen 1. And that's about all we can do. So there's obviously no attack there. Go down to the second floor. A little bit of damage there. Very nice. We get him to 10, so it's actually going to die when it fights a sentient. So any units that come up to this floor are going to... Combat is the same. It's going to deal damage to the pyre, and the pyre is actually going to deal full damage to everything. But because that unit had no attack, it obviously didn't die. So, once the boss comes in, combat works a little bit differently. It's no longer attack once and it's done. Combat happens until everything on one side of the floor is dead. Either all of my units die or all of their units, or I should say the boss, dies. So combat just happens. So the boss could end up to the third floor, but it doesn't matter if he wipes everything on the first 2 floors because that's really it. After the boss, there is nothing else. So it doesn't matter if he wipes the floors. So I'm going to go ahead and kill this unit, just so that way there's a little bit less damage here. And you can see the damage on this boss actually went up, basically because this back unit was going to deal so much damage to the train stewards that it was going to kill them too quickly. So because of that, I think I'm actually going to spend a little bit of time healing these up. And you can actually see in real time that we went from barely doing any damage to the boss to now the boss is dead. So that's one of those downsides where it kind of takes some of the thrill out of combat, knowing like for sure that the boss is going to die. Sometimes you like that little adrenaline rush, not knowing if you have enough damage, but you can kind of see in real time, like exactly how long it's going to take to kill the boss, and if you're going to be able to complete the floor or not. It can sometimes help because you can kind of cheese the game a little bit by, if you leave the run, it will actually save your progress and you can restart the round. Kind of cheating for a roguelike, but hey, if you want to do it. All right, so now we get to choose our reward, so we can go in and choose a card to add to our deck, or we can choose to skip, but most of the time it's better just to add a card. So we can go for Glimmer, which restores 2 health to all our friendly units and deals 2 damage to all enemy units. That's only on 1 floor. We can get a 0 cost, apply 3 attack and 3 health, or deal 3 damage and move that unit to the front. Of note here, you can also use that on your own heroes if you want to change the order. So I think I'm actually going to take the Steel Enhancer. No, I think I'm actually going to take the Glimmer. The reason I'm going to take the Glimmer is because I know in the future we're going to be able to increase the damage of that spell and use it as a really big AoE spell. See, so we have 2 Ember, Pierce and deal 5 damage, apply armor 20. So that's pretty nice. Kind of. We have to deal 5 damage to our own unit. Apply Rage 5. I kind of like this. So Rage 5 basically increases 2 attack per stack. So this effectively gives 10 attack, but every turn you're going to lose a Rage. Or we can ascend a unit. I think I'm going to take the Fledgling Imp. Fledgling Imp only taking up 1 space is really good. And the fact that it can increase the attack of our Sentient. So I'm going to go this route. The reason being is there's a lot of Awoken units that I want to pick up. And this is one of them. I really like the Animus of Speed. There are ways to give this unit multi-strike, excuse me, and it can attack multiple times in a turn. And Quick is really good because it means that that is a unit that will get to attack before your enemy unit. So killing off enemy units before they can deal damage to you is really good. That being said, Thorned Hollow is pretty good. So it looks like it only has 15 health, but it's going to gain 40 max health, making it 55. It is going to start at 15, so you do have to heal it up, but we have all those regenerating spells in our deck, and every time we do heal it, Rejuvenate says that it's going to gain 2 spikes. So the more we heal it, the more spikes we get, and the more it's going to deal damage to our enemies. So I actually really like this unit. And because the Quick Animus, I already forgot the name, but the other unit, because it's so weak, it only had 3 health, and we don't have anything to protect it yet. We need those things to protect our like heavy damage dealing units first. So now we can go to the Merchant of Magic and we can forge our spells. We can look to increase or improve some of our spells. We can also purge cards, which I typically sometimes like to do early, depending on how lucky we get with cards. Purge really just removes the card straight up. There's like, you don't have to deal with it ever again. Pretty much the first 4 I use of these go straight to the Train Stewards because they're pretty bad. We can re-roll. We can only do this once, not per run, just per area of the map. Right now we're in an area of the map. Once we do our next battle, we'll go to another area of the map. And then we have our upgrades. So we can upgrade a spell to cost -1, upgrade a spell with +20 magic power, and consume. And consume means you can only play it once per battle. So makes it a lot more powerful, but we can only use it once. Or upgrade a spell to gain double stack and cost +1. The status effects stacks added by this card are doubled, but it costs a little bit extra. I do really like the -1, but really we don't have like a lot of spells we really want to use it on. We already everything costs 1 already. Now see, this is one of the things we could do, which I really like. That's a lot more damage, but I'm not really crazy about the consume on it. And we could do something like that, although I'm not crazy about it. I think what I'm going to do is just stick to my plan. Purge a couple of these Train Stewards. And I think I'm going to re-roll 1. No, you know what? We're going to save our gold. We're going to save our gold, and we're going to go into the next battle. Enemy units enter with armor 10. But these are fairly... These are fairly weak units, and we do need more units ourselves, so I am going to take this challenge. And I'm going to try and get an extra unit at the end of the run. Alright, let's see here. So, the Sentient and Thorn Hollow we want on different floors. So I'm going to put the Sentient here, and I'm going to put Thorn Hollow here to try and just kind of weaken our lines here. We're going to go ahead and restore. That way we get some more spikes. And then we'll go ahead and torch this back unit. Maybe I should have torched the front unit. We'll see. We'll see. This front unit is a little bit of trouble here because basically we're not going to be able to get to this back unit very easily. So I'm going to put one of our train stewards back here, protected. Go ahead and heal up, try and get as much... I think we're basically going to try and build as much spikes as we can on this unit. And you know what? I do want the extra gold, so I'm going to put the train steward up here. The reason why I'm not super concerned about these units going up is that they're only... like, this one's only doing 1 damage. So I'm perfectly okay with just kind of, like, letting them get through and letting the pyre take a little bit of damage and not trying to force kill these floors. And she ends up killing herself anyway, so yeah, it's not like we're under a lot of pressure, right? Okay, so both these units are dead. We don't care about this unit because it's not going to deal any damage, so the pyre's literally just going to kill it. There's also just, like, not really a lot to do, so I'm just going to kind of regen here to build up our spikes. You can see our spikes going up. And so now we're going to restore 2 health, not 1 twice. So we'll restore 2 this turn, and the next turn we'll restore 1, unless we get more of our regen cards and we can kind of build those up. So no attack. Our train steward will get a damage there. These units are going to die to our spikes. And then we go ahead and heal up. We get more spikes. Pyre kills there. All right, cool. Now we're on to the boss. And we can see boss is dead. But let's just show him. That's really all we can do. I was going to say, let's show him who's boss, but that's really all we can do. So we can go ahead and end the turn because we know that the boss is going to die. And we cleared our second fight. Sweet. Awesome. And we can go ahead and actually speed this up a little bit here, since we got kind of getting the idea of what's going on. So, of course, we have our points. You know, points don't really matter. They're nice to see kind of your progression, and if you're really hunting points, you can kind of compare your runs. Of course, we have our spoils, our 50 gold. We have 2 clan packs, and the bonus that we took at the beginning of the round. So we have restored 10 health to a friendly unit, deal damage equal to the front enemy unit equal to 5 times the amount healed. We have the Steel Enhancer, which we saw earlier. Or Razor Sharp Edge. While this is nice, we obviously really like the healing because a lot of units are tanking hits. So we're going to take that. And it's a little bit of removal in there as well. Let's see, we have the Multi-Imp, deal 5 damage. Piercing, deal 5 damage twice. Piercing goes beyond armor, so if your unit has, or if an enemy unit has 10 health and 10 armor, this will actually kill the unit because it just bypassed the armor, which I believe that is what we're going to take. Yeah, Hornbreak is pretty good. Okay, and now we have our unit draft. So we can take a Rail Beater with armor 30. Every time it hits a unit, that's what strike is. Apply melee weakness 1 to the attacking unit. Melee weakness basically doubles or triples whatever melee weakness is. You multiply it however much damage is dealt to that enemy, but it goes away after 1 hit. We have a Husk Hermit, which has sweep. It's going to attack everything. Or we have the Animus of Speed. I'm going to take this Animus of Speed. I really like this card. The reason is if we can get multi-strike on that thing, it is going to run through the enemies. Okay, so we have another choice here. We could go get another artifact and an awoken unit, or we could duplicate a card And this duplicate will also take into account any upgrades we have on the card. Very good late game, not as good early game. And then we can also restore 20 pyre health. Now, we're at 80. So that means that this is effectively useless. This one in the middle is kind of like a random addition, but you can pick it up on either side. And there's nothing in my deck that I really want to duplicate, so I'm going to take the left. Basically, the way you can pick which way you want to go down is kind of through a reductive line of reasoning. Like, because I don't need to heal, it essentially makes it so that I only have 2 bonuses on the right, whereas this side I have 3. So I'm going to go down this way. So let's go ahead and pick up an Awoken unit. All right, well, we get the, the second Animus of Speed. I think I'm actually going to take the Animus of Speed, so that way I can set 1 up on the first floor and 1 up on the second floor as well. The Thorn Hollow is obviously good, but it's going to run my healing cards a little bit too thin if I have 3 cards. So ideally, I would just have to set up 2 floors, and then the third floor kind of be the one that cleans everything up the end. So let's go ahead and for Artifact. Friendly units get +5 health. That's pretty good. 25% chance to deal 5 damage when an enemy unit enters your terrain. I'm not so crazy about this. I'm going to take the friendly units, get +5 health. It's pretty small, but a +5 health bonus is a +5 health bonus, and when all our units are trying to tank, hey, we'll take any health we can get. So these caverns are always random. We never know exactly what we're going to get. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's really, really bad. The shivering blacksmith braces against the stinging wind from afar. One would easily mistake her for a small mountain. It's not like I want to come out here, you know? Just, you always come by the forge at the worst times, and it's always so much business that I forget some of the other more important things I'm working on. Well, anyway, I'm working on something new, a hammer of sorts. And yes, before you can ask, she'll help you out and help out you and your sorry lot. It's just, well, she doesn't work like she should. Got a bit of a mind of her own. So I figure you could take her with you and help me out for once. Just needs a little fine-tuning all. Hitting those birds around 5 times ought to do the trick. So, fine-tuning is my middle name. Get a good old Wingmaker. One ember, deal 6 damage to enemy units 2 times. Slay, we have more capacity on the floor. Or we could do nothing? Why would we not take this? Yes, I would very much like to take that. I don't know why I would not want to take that. It seems fantastic. Especially since we can upgrade it later. All right. So now we have our first actual boss. Enemy units deal 1 damage to the front unit upon death. Okay, that's not a big deal. All right, sometimes you have clans that have really weak enemies, but you can make a lot of them. This one, not so bad. Okay, so the big difference here, obviously you see the bosses flying outside of the train. It's a little bit different than the bosses we fought in the past. So once you get to your actual bosses, yes, they all fly outside the train. The difference here, though, because you can see that it has a lot more health, is that we can actually fight the boss on every floor. So, for example, right now there's this thing here, so we're obviously going to attack this first. But if the boss was here on the second floor, and we had units here, if we clear all the enemies here, any extra damage that we can do will be dealt to the boss. So we can kind of weaken him down before he actually comes onto the floor and attacks us. Because he can't actually attack us until the waves are remaining, but we can attack him. So, I don't actually have any way to heal our Thorn Hollow. So I'm actually going to put our Sentient here first, so that way we can wipe this floor. And I'm going to put the Thorn Hollow here on this floor. Okay, and at the end of turn, this is going to despawn and deal 10 damage to your front enemy unit. So we need to keep that in mind. I'm also going to put this Aminus down. Oh boy. So basically, I'm trying to remember if the boss goes down a floor or it's going to go to the first. I think it's going to go to the first floor. And the reason that's important is because I would like to kill this before it despawns. And so I'm going to plan for it being this floor. I don't actually remember. Because we can just like straight up deal 1 damage to this thing, get rid of it. But there's nothing on this floor. So I'm actually just going to save a little bit of health and just kill one of these because we're out of amber, and then the Animus is going to kill the second, and we'll take a little bit of damage from the third one. Okay, so he does go down to the first floor, which is good, basically, because... Nope, it's not good. Yep, I miscalculated. So, the reason it's not good, if this Animus did not have Quick, it would be very good, because these 3 units would die, and then... Nope, I just misspoke. Don't even worry. Don't even worry about anything I just said. Okay, here. So, there's nothing really we can do about this. So let's go ahead and stack up some healing. Go ahead and deal 2 damage. Or 6 damage. Yeah, that did a lot. Okay, let's just... Okay, so now, obviously you can see our capacity is really big. So I'm actually going to set up for some big hits here. Which I can't do because I miscalculated how much Ember I have. You know what? Sometimes you just kind of go with the flow. You know? Sometimes you miscalculate how much Ember you have. Shit happens. Alright, let's get rid of this thing so that way we don't have to worry about that. Let's heal up a little bit here. Because our first floor is more than fine. We can kind of set some spikes up on this Thorn Hollow here at the top. Okay, we don't have to worry about this. Let's just go ahead and wipe this floor so we don't even have to worry about it. Heal up our Sentient a little bit. We'll kind of do the same here. We're going to do a big 10 heal. And some heals there, so that way we can build up some spikes on this unit. So both these units are going to die. We can go ahead and torch that. And then we can go ahead and... I'm actually just going to set up the heals here. I'll set up 1 heal here. Why not? Why not? Alright, so now the boss comes in. He's going to deal 8 damage, and he has Relentless. So Relentless is the ability that basically keeps the floor attacking until everything is done. Yeah, this seems insanely good. Why would we not want to take that? Okay, well, we already killed the boss, but let's just deal him a little bit extra damage. Boom, a little bit extra damage, and call it a day. Alright, that is our first boss defeat. And let's see what we collect. So 75 gold plus... Ooh, we get some interesting cards here. So, One Horn's Tomb. Consume, apply Fragile and Multi-Strike to a friendly unit. So the unit loses health, it dies. But it's 5 Ember. We definitely cannot get to that, so we literally have to take this off the table. Adaptive Mutation. Consume, restore a friendly unit to full health, and swap the attack and health. Or Transcend him when played. Repeat all summon effects triggered so far this battle. And this is very good if we were building an imp deck, because imps play a lot with like summon abilities. We don't have that, so this is pretty good. Or sorry, this is pretty bad. So the question is, do we want the adaptive mutation? And I don't know that we do. I don't think we do, because so many of our units want high health and they don't actually have high attack. So this really doesn't do anything for us. I think I'm just going to skip this and take the extra 10 gold. Oh, Animus of Will. That one is very good. This is one of our multi-strikers. And if we can buff this thing up, it actually attacks 3 times. Steelworker's really good. I'm gonna take the Animus. That card is just too good to give up. Okay, and after each boss, we get to pick a major enhancement. So we can either choose to get 1 extra Ember per turn, an extra draw per turn, or an extra capacity on each floor. And of course, our power is going to get 10 extra health and 30 extra, or 10 extra attack, excuse me, and 30 extra health. So, what I normally like to start with, because there's always ways to reduce the cost of your cards, I really like draw each turn. I know. When I played Magic, I was a blue player. I like drawing cards. But the thing is, even if you don't spend all your cards, having the extra draw gives you more options to do every turn. More options you have, the more outs you have if you get into trouble and you need to find like a specific card. And because this is just static every single turn, I love it. I pretty much always start with +1 draw. It's very rare that I don't. So, With that being said, this is going to wrap up the first episode of Monster Hunter. Do stay tuned because I am going to be dropping another episode, finishing up this run with you guys, and we're going to be going through a little bit faster. I know this episode was a little bit slow, but I did want to go over, some of the basics so that way in the future Monster Train videos you can kind of keep up and know what's going on. If you do have any questions, please do ask me down in the comment section below. This is a game that I really love. I've been playing it for like several months now. It is one of my favorite deck builders, especially roguelike deck builders. So like I said, if you do have any questions, if there was anything that I glazed over too quickly, or if there's just questions you'd like to know about the game, please let me know down below, and let me know if you liked this game. I know it's a little bit different from my normal content, but I'm looking to switch things up a little bit, show you guys some of the games that I have been enjoying in my spare time. But that is going to do it for today. If you did like the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell. That way you never miss a video. If you want to join our Discord, link to that will be down in the description below. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Hopefully you did enjoy. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.